Regarding the statistics, there have been independent groups that have been studies to compare relative pay of teachers and then private sector employees to the extent that you can make a comparable argument, and certainly the other side has made their argument. But regarding her concerns about teachers and firefighters and everything, my wife's a teacher. I'm married to a teacher. I'm a public employee. I've been elected to office, so I understand what we pay for our health care. I believe I pay 15.85%. We pay 10% of our pensions. I think Representative Phillips will concur with that. So it is a reasonable thing. There's another aspect of this bill that I'd like to point out as well, and that is my wife, who doesn't really want to belong to a union, is compelled to pay union dues. And then they take that money and they give it to a lot of causes that she does not believe in. And that's one of the things that I think is most unfair in Ohio, that you have this compulsion. They take your money whether you want to belong to a union or not. This bill, which I think was very fair, was eliminating that fair share provision to try to be fair to those people who don't want to be forced into a union.
Yes, please, because Representative Thompson has completely misrepresented this. Representative Thompson, you are very aware, I'm sure, that the fair share fee has nothing to do with political activity by the union. So the viewers understand what we're talking about here. If you don't want to belong to a union in Ohio, you don't have to belong to a union. But by law, the union has to represent all employees, whether they are union or not, within that bargaining unit. All the fair share fee says, even if you don't want to belong to the union and you don't pay union dues, you have to pay your fair share of the cost of bargaining since you are benefiting from that. The best way to explain it is this. There are 10 people standing at a bus stop. The first 9 people get on the bus and pay their fare. The last person gets on and says to the bus driver, since you're going there anyway, how about I ride for free? The fair share fee is designed to stop that. So this has nothing to do with political activities, nor does the fair share and taking it out of the bill, out of the law, have anything to do with saving anybody money. This is solely designed to be punitive to public workers and their unions. But let me just say one other thing, because we keep hearing these figures about the reasonable reform. 10% toward the pension, 15% of health care. This is bogus. 94% of all public workers in this state pay the full 10% of their pensions. The 6% who don't do it because they don't want to do it. They do it because local governments ask them if they will do a pension pickup instead of a wage increase because it's cheaper for them.
Well, Bill, I have a question. Would you be willing to look at a bill that would be like a redraft of this bill? Right now, issue 2, if you vote yes on issue 2, you're voting yes on SB 5. If you vote down issue 2, you're voting down on SB 5. You can't vote for parts of this bill.
Correct.
Would you be in favor of a redrafting of this measure and maybe reintroduced to deal with some of those issues?
As Representative Phillips pointed out a moment ago, the public workers in this state have been more than willing to sit down and talk about reasonable reform. They have given back $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion since 2008. So please don't tell me that, well, the only reason they're doing the concessions is because Senate Bill 5 is out there. This is since 2008, Representative. That's when Senate Bill 5 was only a gleam in Governor Kasich's eye.
Okay, Representative Thompson.
Yeah, I'd like to respond. Counter to what Mr. Butlin would say, a vast majority of the money that is collected by union dues goes to political items.
It does not.
And as
Not
a matter
the
of
fair
fact,
share.
The fair share certainly does. The fair
does
share,
not. It's
a
just
fraction.
not true.
A fraction of that money goes to the cost of collective bargaining and insurance and trying to ensure that you might be sued. The vast majority of it goes to causes that I can't even discuss. They're so radical. And so that's one example that we wanted to, and it's, obviously it goes to the party that you support. But the point is, for Senate Bill 5, and I'm going to go back to the reasonable reforms and the fair share. People understand that. They understand in the private sector. I'm a small business owner.
Well, but do you disagree with what Dale Butlin said, that there's only a small percentage that don't pay the 10%?
There are a whole series. Let me go back to just the community of Marietta right now. They pay $0 for their health care. By changing that,
we talked about pensions. Are we talking about pensions or health care now? Because we can talk about health care next if you like. In fact, I'd love to do that.
Okay,
let's talk about pensions
in the Marietta City Schools.
Well, I tell you what, let's stay with pensions for just right now, because that's what we were talking about. It's not health care.
Okay, and the pension, if you look at the pension, the pensions of many of the state employees, we're not doing very well. They're not fully funded. Look at the firefighters. Look at the police.
The question was, the statement was that a minority are paying nothing. A small minority, it seemed like. But most of them are paying the 10%.
Well, I'm not gonna, I don't
Most-
know where
Okay.
his, what
Most-
the
All right, well, let me just,
Let me
let's do
jump
this.
in for just a sec,
Okay,
though.
one, and then we'll go to a caller.
Most public employees do pay something toward their health care and something toward their pension. And that's an example of the kind of misinformation and distortion that Building a Better Ohio campaign has used in their approach to this from the beginning, to pick out a few examples that they can point to and say, gosh, this isn't fair, and try to act like that encompasses all public employees, when it's just simply not true.
There-
Let
are
me,
multiple
let
examples.
Pete Colades, go
No,
ahead.
I was going to say, even if it is just a few, why is that a problem? If there are people who are not paying anything towards their pensions, you know, you wonder why people are angry with government. This
So-
is one of the
And you get-
reasons they.
Well,
Because
let's
local
let Jill
governments
handle
are
it.
asking them not to because
Well,
it's
a lot of them
cheaper.
are forced to. A lot of them are forced to through collective
But the-
bargaining agreements, and then they hold a
Pete-
gun to the head of the elected officials
Pete-
and say, if you don't do this, we're going to
Pete,
strike. And
this-
by the way, we have all these donations that we can give to
Pete,
you
this,
as well.
this is where you folks talk out of both sides of your mouth. On the one hand, you say, oh, we need Senate Bill 5 to give local officials flexibility so they can manage their own budgets. But on the other hand, you say, but even if you want to do a pension pickup instead of a wage increase, we don't care what you want because Columbus politicians know best.
All right, let's,
isn't that right?
by the way, great discussion. We appreciate that.